So then if anyone jumps in, we can catch up, but otherwise, just feel free to ask questions or what have you as they come up, point out stuff as it comes up. But anyway, so to start off, my lineup was Shellfolk, Darkness, and Tree. Sorry, Anura, you just hopped in. Feel free to stop, ask questions, point out stuff that people are missing also. We just started recording. So, lineup once again: Shellfolk, Ezreal Vi, only 2 Vis, Darkness, and Tree. This lineup came from my comfort level with Shellfolk and my moderate to high comfort level with Darkness. And then Tree came from What Am I's article, where he had posted a lineup that included Shellfolk, Darkness, and Tree. My tree gameplay is not great in these matches, and I think this was the number one thing I should have spent more time working on was this deck. I think I had like maybe 10 games on this deck before taking it into Seasonals. But it did get banned a lot, so everything worked out. Originally, I was planning on playing either Feel the Rush, Zombie Anivia, or a Lee Sin list. But the SI Freljord decks felt a little too mopey, and 2 damage sweepers aren't really doing a whole lot right now. Whereas at least the tree list, can match the board presence of other decks, while eventually scaling into a difficult to interact with win condition in tree. And then I also chose to not play Lee because I do not have the reps on Lee, and that's probably something I'm going to be working on during the off season, is just getting as many reps with Lee Sin as possible. One thing that I also like about this lineup is it allows me to play 9 Minimorph, which makes my ban phase much easier, which is where a lot of my problems came in. I had misbanned in 2 matches. Those 2 matches I lost, and I think my ban phase is among the weaker parts of my game. And I think that's just due to not knowing every deck's matchup tables. And that's difficult. That's difficult to know the tables for everything. But I'm not certain how best to rectify that moving forward. But without any further ado, I suppose let's hop on into round 1. 2x speed.
This honestly looks like a pretty quick Silver Akshan ban.
Yep. So, like I said, I lost 2 matches in this set, and I lost both of them during pick ban. I talk about this in the video. The general plan for the lineup is always leave up Draven Scion, because all of my decks have at least 3 ways of dealing with a resolved Scion. And then the other part of that heuristic is ban any Poppy deck just off the cuff. in this match, I end up banning the Poppy deck instead of Sivarakshan, basically being a little too overly reliant on my ban heuristic.
Mm-hmm.
My thinking was that both the Poppy deck and the Sivarakshan deck would do the same things, and thus I could rely on that heuristic and just fall back and make my ban easy. Um, but, and Card Gamer and Leovold and I talked about this uh, dur- after this round. Um, I was 100% supposed to ban Sivir Akshan here because the spell shields are significantly harder to deal with than the poppies. Because I have a bunch of ways to deal 3. I have Sump Fumes and Shellfolk. Darkness basically always hits 3. Um, so I can kill a poppy when it comes down, but Sivir is significantly harder to kill because she always requires 2 pieces of cardboard to be removed, and Sivir Akshan is very good at accruing advantage. And we end up seeing that in the match where um, I, I believe it's Darkness gets out carded by like 4-1 or something. Um, but yeah, we can. Since we talked about what we talked about in the band section, we can just skip on into game 1. Game 1 is Tree versus Scion. Um, I suppose we didn't talk about what opponent banned. So opponent banned Shellfolk, which I think is the correct ban on their part.
I'm inclined to disagree. I'm not sure, but I really feel like over the top with the Shellfolk plan. Like, Shellfolk really struggles against Sivarakshan. So I think your opponent actually misbanned here, knowing that you're going to leave up Draven Scion. They probably could have banned Darkness instead here.
That's
If opponent assumed that a Sivarakshan was going to be banned, does that change the validity of this ban?
Hmm.
I was about to say I think that actually does affect it. Um, so if we look at the optimal bans, or if we look at me banning optimally, I ban Sivir Akshan, right? I think Shellfolk is better at fighting the Poppy deck because of Mystic Shot
Some
relative,
fumes.
or right, Mystic Shot and Sump Fumes are both very good at containing the Poppy deck's early development, whereas Darkness relies on Dark Bulb Acolyte to try to contain early, basically hoping to get a good value trade and a Darkness off on turn 3. But then I'm usually still down a card because, or I'm down a piece of battlefield development because the Teemo deck just has so many ones. They have Treasure Seeker, they have Teemos. Actually, they don't have Treasure Seeker.
They can have treasures.
Yeah, they have Fleet Feather Tracker and Teemo, so they have 5 1-drops. They're likely going to have a 1-drop, right? So if they curve 1, 2, 3, I'll be still behind in the battlefield. So if opponent since opponent assumed I was going to ban correctly, then it makes sense for them to ban Shellfolk, I think. But if I ban the Poppy deck, maybe they're supposed to ban Darkness since the Darkness list has one more answer to a Scion, in that it has 2 stress defenses, 2 minis, and I can also flip another stress defense off of Conchologists.
Mhm.
But that was a good question though. Um, definitely something to consider. So the first matchup, um, I chose Tree first, thinking that they would lead on Akshan Sivir, but I chose incorrectly, and they led on Draven Scion instead. So, given this hand, I end up mulling away both minis, just thinking about the fact that I do need to develop early, and I will draw into a mini morph by the time I need one, since there are three. Early turns are fairly scripted. I'm not certain if I'm supposed to attack here or not. They probably take the block if I attack here.
There's arguments attacking here because they also need to keep wide so they can put you on a clock as you are the one with the inevitability in the matchup.
I think because they discarded Rider, you attack here because what are you losing if they block? If the punish would be turn 2 Baboon, which was a better block, but if they turn 2 Baboon, they're not developing Rider, and you're not getting any real value out of the 1/1 past that. There could be something said for like trying to preserve the 1/1 to block Draven, but I think that's way too cute.
We
Especially
have other things to deal with Draven as well. So I
Yeah.
think going for the attack there was not something that really would have been punished by anything. Unless I had wanted to pitch his survival skills with a Poro cannon super early.
Then it's free!
I'm super happy with that trade, getting a survival skills for a 1-drop.
Very, very true. Yeah. My thinking is that I'm so unlikely to kill them with damage that I should just be trying to block as much as possible. But I think that attack is free enough that I should have just taken it, because it ends up working out the same anyway. Because
It's effectively blocking on offense.
right, and then I can push a damage.
Pushing
upstairs.
1 damage could potentially be 2 damage if they choose not to block for some reason.
And
Yeah.
Could push up the validity of, what is it, Furious Feyfolk?
Furious Feyfolk.
Which
Yep.
you can usually pull.
I don't know how frequently I take Furious in this matchup, but it is something to consider.
Well, if they're letting you pressure their life total because they don't think you're going to kill them with Tree, then it becomes an actual card that could make a difference.
Right. The thinking is, though, given that the PZ Noxus deck has so many ways to kill a mayor, Feyfolk is coming down on curve, and Feyfolk on curve is going up against, on the same turn, a Scion. And I think Scion's a bit better than Furious Feyfolk.
Oh, yeah, no. Like, you wouldn't play Feyfolk until, like, much later. But if you happen to draw, like, third mayor, Feyfolk could be an out later on.
Right.
Is, I think, the thinking that Leo and I had. I don't know if that's correct, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Because there are also the games where you just don't draw tree in time.
Right.
So your secondary win condition is beating down.
That does make sense, yeah. So
There's arguments to both sides. I think this is also fine.
Yeah, it's not a huge mistake.
So opponent plays Rider, then I respond with Bomber Twins. This attack from them, I think,
Yeah,
is
they should
forced.
still attack here easy.
My block is equally forced. And then here we just trade turns. None of these takes are very good for me. Protoporo is just extremely low impact, and the mayor is going to die because they have 6 ways to kill it in their deck. So
I would just take second Bomber Twins.
I believe I do take second Bomber Twins.
Bomber Twins just blocks.
It blocks Fearsome Rider. That's all I care about. We have already seen one, but that's like the biggest threat because you have troubles blocking Fearsome units.
Right. So opponent develops Rider Twin Blade, and then soft passes, and I lead on Bandle City.
You ever-
Mayor. Sorry, go ahead.
Did they pitch double Rider or double Lost Soul?
Rider Twin. It's 1-1 split
Okay.
off their Rider.
Sorry, I thought they pitched double Lost Soul, and I'm like, do you ever just take the aloof gambit here and just hope they don't have the third one?
If they
But no, if they just pitched 1-1, then
if they
If they
pitch,
pitch two, I'd rip aloof. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. As if we got into later rounds, I would be less likely to do it because, like, that late in the later round, it would scream that the third is in hand anyway. But I think, yeah, in this situation, I would, if they pitched two, I would absolutely
yeah.
try to fire it off.
There's also the argument for saying even if they just pitched one, aloof isn't getting any better.
Right.
Like, it only gets worse as the game goes on, so you just kind of hope to trade it with something. But I don't know if that's right.
Well, so the way this matchup plays out, I think the Scion deck gets stuffed on mana enough that there's a possibility that they have a hard time getting all their twin blades deployed on time, right?
Yeah.
So then if they ever end up in a situation where they have a twin blade in play and a twin blade in hand that they're trying to deploy towards like the mid to later stages of the game, aloof can just time walk their Scion turn possibly. Like if we're on like turn 6 or something and they have a twin blade in play and a twin blade in hand, then aloof has a good chance of just shuffling their Scion back in, which definitely has some merit to doing. It does give something overwhelm, which sucks, but at least you're not getting smacked for 10 is the idea there.
Yeah, overwhelm or dead. I think most people pick overwhelm.
Most people do pick overwhelm, and that is the correct choice. So opponent plays a Draven. I play Mayor Loping. I choose to not block simply because I have a Poppy. I develop a Bomber because even if they kill my Mayor now, I can still develop Poppy. They're down to 3 mana, but I think it is still fine to force them to spend their Get Excited here, because I can still group shot to take the 3-1 off the table. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I'm not supposed to group shot the 3-1. I'll let them put their spell on the stack and then we can talk about this a bit more. So, at this point, I think there are 2 options. I think it is between spending group shot on the monkey and group shotting the Draven. Although now that I'm thinking about it, we also don't have to group shot immediately, and we could also go into combat and do it. So I definitely think I played this sequence horridly. So the line I took was group shot the monkey in response, which was, in hindsight, rancid and worst possible. What I was supposed to do instead was just let the GE resolve and attack with all of my units. Because what happens? This goes in, Poppy dies, and then I get to attack with my 3/2, and I just push 3 damage. Whereas, if I still have my group shot, I am able to attack with all of my units. Draven most likely blocks Mayor, and then I push 5 damage, and I get to take the Draven off the table. Or I just push 7 upstairs, which is also good. So I definitely think that the line I took here was objectively incorrect.
Yeah, just adding in one thing. Because you spent the group shot, they didn't have the baboon, so when they did have the baboon, if you waited on the group shot, they could have also thrown baboon in front of Mayor, but they're still taking 5, which is pretty good for you. So I think you always keep group shot here. But it's debatable if you swing with everything. But also looking at your hand, you probably do just swing with everything. Because
Right.
trading a 2/2 for a 3/1's fine.
And the Mayor discount is losing its value because I only realistically this Mayor is only going to generate like an extra 1 mana for the rest of this game anyway. Like the Mayor's probably going to die before I can deploy both aloofs, or the aloofs just don't end up mattering.
Yeah, Mayor is letting you play cards that you don't want to play.
Right. So, but moving
So
on.
what on that particular turn? What keeps you from not leading out with the aloof instead of the poppy, and having maybe it take the excited? I'm just interested.
So aloof doesn't die to the get excited, right?
Oh yeah, it's
Yep.
3/4, isn't it? That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
The other thing is um, playing the poppy there demands an answer immediately. Because even
Yeah.
if they pass priority back to me and I get to attack with the poppy, they have to trade away their entire board and
Right.
like they have to trade that they have to deploy the chompers with the axe. So they have to trade their Draven and their axe for the poppy, and then the monkey for the mayor, and then they still take 7 and have no board. Or they just cash in the chompers as a gain 4, but that, and then they are down to chompers, have taken 3, and have no board and no mana.
Okay.
So, playing Poppy, on the first turn you would get to attack with her is, as a general heuristic, always correct. There's obviously some situations where it's not, but in the overwhelming majority of circumstances, leading on Poppy is fine, if not correct. So moving on, they deploy a Twin Blade, going down to 2 mana. And I don't really have good plays this turn. Realistically, the best I can do is aloof, but I run face first into the second Lost Soul, which opponent held onto because Tree usually plays 3 aloofs per game anyway. So the odds that you get to free roll a Lost Soul are very high. I did get to deploy a second aloof, and I don't remember what my opponent discarded. What they discard?
Aloof.
Yep. Got their aloof, so we got the wrong 4-drop out of their hand. But then they deploy their rider, and then at this point, I'm just trying to
Um,
trade.
Can I say something here?
Absolutely.
I think it's actually better that we got rid of the aloof over the twin blade here. Because that way we get to protect the mini morph that's in our hand, or a tree that comes later.
That is fair. Yeah. I was just thinking in terms of if we get this twin blade out of the way, that's one fewer that we have to deal with for the rest of the game, but we shouldn't have to deal with it too particularly much anyway. Like, the twin blade should only come down, like, maybe twice. Twice each. But yeah, so opponent attacks. They pull Mayor. So they attack with Draven, pull the 3/2, which prevents me from getting a good block on the Rider. Something that I am really bad about as a player is I do not chump block Draven enough. Basically, in every VOD review that I play against a Draven, people tell me that I need to start throwing my units under the Draven way sooner than I do. Leo and I
Specifically in this case, because you're on a clock, they have a lot of burn and overwhelm with the Scion. If they get to like Scion 2 or aloof the mini morph,
Yep.
you want to preserve your life total as long as possible.
Yep. My brain always thinks of this matchup as, oh, okay, until I get to 10, my life total doesn't really matter. But my life total does matter in these PNZ Noxus matchups. And I think that's just me getting complacent with the largely slower versions of Scion as of late. So combat happens. I play a bomber. I get a second rockfall path, which 2 rockfall paths actually is something that can deal with a specific unit.
My mind immediately goes to if we can find some way for it to hit a twin blade, that would be very ideal.
Hitting Twin Blade or hitting Draven, basically as long as it doesn't hit that Grave Physician, I'm happy with whatever it hits. So, something I want to think about, I want to keep an eye on this telescope. Leo and I have already talked about this game, and it ends up not mattering, but I want to think about this telescope could have blocked Draven on opponent's last turn and gained us 4 health. What does the telescope end up trading for in this game? So we pokey their 1/1 down because we don't want that to get eaten by the rockfall path. So here, I choose to just pass and try to mini the Scion. But I also had the option of flocking this 4/1, and I don't know why I chose not to. But I do believe that this is correct, since this ends up trading with, it's either the aloof or a 3/2. And if I have either one of those, I have a much better chance at actually converting this game into a win. I'll let them attack and we'll demonstrate a lot better. Takes them a few tries to set up attacks, but they got it. So this is what I'm talking about here. I just end up losing this 3/4 because I also don't flock this in combat. But if I'm able to, if I do end up flocking this, I still won't have the 3/4 to block the Draven when they don't have their axe. But I'm able to block, for instance, the Physician with it, or the Twin Blade has to pull the 3/4, which leaves the Telescope to actually get a trade on the Physician. So I end up eating one of their Scions and going to 10 health off this Draven, and then I have two Rockfalls, which eat their Draven and their Twin Blade, which is not the worst. This turn, I also think I play pretty poorly. I had the option of either playing Bandle Commando or Lulu. I need to get Tree down this turn no matter what. Otherwise, it's just too slow, and it's not going to actually do anything. If I play Lulu, I will get Ionia no matter what, and I'll have spent one more mana. Whereas, if I play the Bandle Commando and it dies, which it does die here, I don't get Ionia, and I have no board, and I'll have to spend 3 mana later to get Ionia. Bandle Commando late is just so bad that I definitely should not have tried to deploy this and try to get cheeky with it.
Yeah, just think of it this way. If you just played the Lulu, 1, you guarantee the Ionia. 2, you're still spending the same amount of mana if you go with Bandle Commando, play the Owlcat. You're just going wider there. But this also has a lot of contingencies in place that puts additional risk to your game plan.
Another important thing to note is Lulu only dies to get excited. Opponent doesn't have Fervor, which we know from their deck list. I don't know if I went over that too particularly in depth in this, but opponent has 0 copies of Fervor, so their only way to get through or over this Lulu is through the Get Excited, or the only removal spell that does anything against the Lulu is the Get Exciteds. The 2 Get Exciteds that are left. Whereas both Get Excited and Mystic Shot can kill the Bandle Commando. And if either of those happens, I pretty much lose the game immediately. So, I get maximum punished. And then at this point, I think I lose the Minimorph, which I actually would have rather, I would have rather the tree got hit. But I play the tree, and I'm just like, I am begging my opponent. I am literally begging my opponent to give me a priority, which they do. I play a House Spider, which gives me 2 regions, which is probably the best possible. And then I die because I don't have a mini anymore. Given my opponent's draws, I'm not certain if this game could have converted into a win, but there's definitely a lot we could have done that would have swung the odds into our favor. Having a Bandle Commando to block this 1/1, for instance, could have...
How much do you die by?
I die by 1 over. I end up going to -1 with optimal blocks.
So if we wanted to go back to that turn where you didn't flock the 4/1, you would have still had a 3/1 in play right now if everything else went the same, which would have given you an additional blocker.
Which then lets me put Lulu on Scion, and I'm only taking 7, 8. So I go.
You could have also theoretically swung with Lulu at that point.
Yeah, between the telescope and the
built it back up
flock,
to
he would have lived this turn.
Well, the telescope ended up not mattering because
Telescope ate a 4 health thing anyway. It ate a 4 attack unit with the 4/3.
Yeah.
the telescope put this twin blade to a 4/1, which the Rockfall Path then obliterated a couple
But
times.
that was more an opponent's misplay than.
Right. Well, it's not so much a misplay. Like, they're gonna get got by these Rockfall Paths at some point. Like, they do want to put this one back in their hand, and they're gonna lose 2 of their things no matter what. So it's probably like this is gonna get mini morphed to no matter what. So like all of their units except for Draven are just like kinda medium. As awkward as it is, I think opponent is supposed to skip this attack token. So that way they end up losing their 2/2 in their Draven.
They actually can't skip here. Because the second you put down tree, they're on a clock. They have to assume that you have a tree in their hand. If you give them a free pass for next turn, then you just throw the tree down. Like, as soon as they slam the Scion, they have to use it. Considering
Yeah.
one, you're putting them on an inevitability clock anyway, and they're basically just giving you an additional 2 turns to accelerate your win condition if they don't swing here. And if they don't swing here as well, you get punished by potentially allowing them to like draw an additional mini morph. You're giving them more time to find an answer, which we know we have in hand already. But on their side, you could not have it, and they don't want to give you additional time to deal with a 10-6 before getting value out of it.
So, my thinking is they're supposed to actually just not play this Scion, as wild as that sounds. Like, I think what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to put the Twin Blades back in their hand, and I guess they can get in with the Draven as well, since that's pretty free. But then they're able to just, like, play this Poro, play this Fearsome Rider, play, like, some other random dinky unit to try to protect their Draven, and then the Scion's still in their hand. The only reason that this is even remotely close to an acceptable line is the fact that at this point, my tree is at like 5, maybe 6. So I think from the Scion perspective, especially since my health total is so low already and a Scion connecting is lethal, I think they can afford to play it slightly slower, but again, I might also just be biased from the fact that we're looking at it in hindsight and the fact that I know the entire contents of my hand, which opponent doesn't know. The only thing that they can ascertain at this point, besides the it's just the Spell Shield and the Thrall are known cards, and the fact that this mini has been stuck to the left of my hand all game. So like they can, if they're hand tracking, they can ascertain that we have a mini in hand, but otherwise they don't really. Yeah, like half of our hand is unknown. These flocks have also been here for a while.
Yeah, this
Your
is also
thoughts?
probably one of the few opportunities you're actually going to get value out of flock.
Right. So. But yeah. Despite
Just two quick thoughts, which is that how many flocks did you say the opponent was on?
I believe they were on 2. Let me skip around to try to find. Where's their Scion list? There was. They
Just
are
had
on
it.
2.
2 flocks.
2?
Yep.
Did we see any of them?
By that point, I don't believe we had seen any.
No, we haven't seen one.
Okay. Because on that last swing, even if, we had even if we had
Your
that
first
extra
display.
unit, even if we had that extra unit, they had exactly the mana to flock and rally, which seems likely.
Would the would we have had? Yeah, if we
if we block the Scion, they can flock their Scion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking, like, would we have had a Bomber Twin or an Aloof with 2 damage on it? But, yeah, they can... So they're just, like, dealing 20 this turn, no matter what.
Effectively,
Yeah.
yeah.
So... But...
Like, obviously, we don't know they had it because we don't see it, but I think based on mana numbers, I would assume they had.
Yeah, like the fact that they've just been holding 1 mana for quite a while.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, moving on to game 2, the final game of the match. I chose to run Tree into Sivir Akshan. I know that I'll have to get a win with Tree against this at some point anyway, and I think this is it's slightly easier for Tree to get a win here than it is for Darkness, but ugh, ow. So I guess we should talk about mulligans also. So the way I mulligan here, I actually think I maybe am supposed to kick the Lulu as well. Because I don't think this Lulu is going to be getting in all that often. She's just going to be trading with a combat trick. The Bandle Commando is never, ever connecting because they're going to keep Sharpsight and they're going to trade their Sharpsight for this Bandle Commando because they're going to try to keep me off Ionia. And Lulu already covers Ionia for tree reasons. House Spider is a house. And I keep Group Shot to deal with the Fleet Feather Tracker. But I could see kicking Lulu as well here. Double House Spider to pair with my Group Shot. A+. So I just established Double Spider and hold up Group Shot. Play a Loping. I take this Crescent Strike, but the Crescent Strike is not particularly likely to connect. But none of the other options I have are any good either.
Like, oh, you don't want Tiana Crownguard?
Like, this is the only other thing that's even remotely close. And, like, keyword big, tough rally might actually have text in the matchup. I think
the Cavalier synergy with Lulu, though.
True.
I'm memeing, of course, but it is at least notable.
It is notable. My thinking is this Crescent Strike is going to time walk them at some point. They're going to rally. The Crescent Strike counters their rally.
I mean, Crescent Strike's clearly the right hit. It's just Tiana Crownguard's a. The other two are much better if you're playing like Poppy Lulu Rally.
Right.
But like you're not, so.
I also, of note, both of these units are Demacia, which Demacia is surprisingly difficult for this deck to obtain if it doesn't draw Poppy. Because Poppy is basically the only good Demacia unit.
Yep. No, I agree with you. Demacia, when I play Tree, I find Demacia, Ionia, and Bilge to be the hardest to hit. The only reason Shurima's a little easier is because you main deck a couple Bomber Twins and you can get it off of Tree. Not Tree, Maya. Whereas the Demacia cards you get off of Mayor are Cavalier, which is bad.
Yep. So I take Crescent Strike, and then here I just cycle a Pokey to try to get the Spell Shield off of Sivir to try to convert either this Mini or this Crescent Strike.
Is there a reason you're not blocking the 3/3?
I'm trying to maintain enough board presence for Group Shot. And taking 3 is better than taking 5, right?
Yeah. Sorry, but Crescent Strike, just here's how my mind is working, and I want to compare notes.
Sure.
When you take Crescent Strike, my brain says keep the Spell Shield on the Sivir, keep Group Shot and Crescent Strike in hand, whittle down their board, and then get them to develop something like a Vikaran Bruiser, and then Crescent Strike. And so, in my mind, it would be right to block the 3/3, and then Pokey Stick that.
And then just take 2 more damage here, go to 13. I could
Or even, like, send a 1/1 under the bus if you're worried about tempo.
I could
But
do that, yeah, because, yeah, in hindsight, this Group Shot is just never going to convert into a dead unit. And the best use for it is just spending a mana to remove Sivir Spell Shield.
Muted. I like Pokey to remove Sivir Spell Shield here, though. Like, I don't hate the play. I think it might have been. I think it's probably more right to chump with your like to 1/1/1/1 Group Shot. Like throw your 1/1s under the bus, not take any damage, and pop Spell Shield,
And kill their 3, this
or
3.
or kill the 3/3. Right, like now is your best chance to kill. Like now is a good time to try and kill. Make Group Shot do it. Make Group Shot kill, especially because like post combat. I mean, because if they waste their, I guess you can't do it post combat. If they waste a Sharp Sight on it, that's good for you.
I was about to say, I'm very satisfied if they spend a Sharp Sight trying to save this 3/3.
Yeah, they probably won't because they're probably fine with you Group Shotting a 3/3. But I do like that you popped Spell Shield this turn because keeping a Sivir alive without Spell Shield is very good for you.
Yep. Because then they can't reset up the Spell Shield, because what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up mini morphing it in combat, which takes away the keywords. So hit a Concerted Strike off Aloof, which is fine.
To be fair, they can reestablish because they have Bruiser, right?
Correct, but they have to connect with the Bruiser, so they have to like play Bruiser, single combat, lucky find Spell Shield onto Sivir. Which,
Yeah, it's not convenient, but
it's not unreasonable either. So at this point, I just talk through, yada yada yada, and then eventually decide to just spend my Crescent Strike. I think taking this turn to establish a mayor, I think ended up helping. Although I was supposed to use my first priority to try to kill their Akshan with the Group Shot.
I mean, you could always try and kill Akshan here right now.
Right.
the problem with killing it now, though, is you kind of get got by like single combat.
Yep. And then I just end up getting got horribly by the one of Cataclysm.
Feels bad.
Yeah.
To be fair, how much are you playing around one-ups?
You can't afford to. Especially when all
Exactly.
the one-ofs do effectively the same thing, just in slightly different ways. But this
So what was the pitch there?
What was the
Siver's Ricochet.
Yeah, second Siver. That's
Ooh,
really
okay.
That is good. It is something.
So to me, that says based on this hand, we can afford to kill this Siver. That's like when we get the chance to.
Spend the Sentry and the Flock to try to kill the Siver, or at least make them spend pump spells trying to protect it.
Yeah, because between Group Shot and Mini Morph, we can easily remove third Siver now.
True.
Like, you have to find the spot for it, but it means it's safe to when you have the opportunity.
Right. Although they do have 3 Bruisers, so they do have more Sivers. But
Right.
they are worse.
Right. They can make. They can build like they're playing BYO Siver,
Right.
but it doesn't splash. So no matter how good Bruiser's a great card, and I've wanted to see it in this deck since before the Ruin Runner nerf, and it's finally getting its time to shine. But it's not Siver. It doesn't splash.
It doesn't share. It's not Barney the dinosaur.
Yeah.
It doesn't share. So yeah, I think after they develop the tracker, I think I'm supposed to go after the Siver with this, with the Stun Spider and Flock.
Yeah, I mean, Siver's their only real threat that doesn't require a pump spell.
Yep. But here I just take my mini value and all my blocks where I'm allowed to. Spend their sharp sights. Which, like, sure, whatever.
Was there consideration for group shot post combat Flock? I guess this doesn't really help you anyway because they still get the strike off.
They still get the strike, and it probably turns into I have to use both Flocks.
Yeah.
Because they have 7 cards in hand.
And yeah.
They will protect this Akshan because if they get a second Warlord Sword,
yeah,
they just win the game on the spot.
It's the kind of thing I said out loud and then I heard it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But at this point, now I get since they tapped out for the Golden Aegis,
yep.
I get to take that line now. I trade to play around Bruiser. I trade the 3/1 to play around the Bruiser getting tough, and I feel very smart and thin for doing so. At this point, I just hope they don't have second sharp sight. Single combat, about the same when it comes to just being the worst possible. And then they spend a concerted strike. I pokey upstairs because the pokey isn't doing particularly much at this point, given that we're already through 2 Sivers, and cycling it to minimize the priorities that I give them helps.
You know, if you're down to only 2 cards in hand, those are probably the exact 2 cards I would want against Siver.
Yep. But then I just get got by the Akshan landmark. And then Bruiser pulls. I put my 3/2 in front of their 3/2. They all in on that. I choose to not block the 5/2. and I lose the game for it.
I still think it's probably the right call.
Yep.
You can't afford to lose your board to an ephemeral unit when you have no cards in hand.
Or actually, it's this one that I choose to not block and then I lose to.
Yeah, in this situation, you could not afford to make the same play.
Yeah. But that is how I lose round 1.
So hold on, you lost round 1 and round 9.
Yeah.
That's an incredible run.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I joke about it being the worst possible record, because it's you spend all day doing it and still don't make the cut. Like, it is, I do concur that it is an incredible run, and it also set my personal best for seasonals. So I am actually very, very happy with this. Also, we spent almost an hour talking about that match. So at this point, I think we should just hop to the other match I lost, focus on that, and then, because it's already pushing like 8, and I'm probably only going to be up for another couple hours or so. He says until he decides to finish his second binge watch of Squid Game. But, yeah. Also, something key to note, there was the same bug that happened in Europe happened on NA, where one of the rounds, instead of firing immediately on time, instead we just sat through all of round 7 not being able to do anything. So it effectively just added an extra round onto the tournament.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was wild. I'm used to this type of thing. I played a bunch of Magic tournaments that would also do this same type of thing. A 7-round Swiss of a PTQ, followed by a 3-round top 8 immediately. So 10 rounds, I get it. It sucks, but I've done it before. Odds are I'll do it again.
And you get back from that long break and you immediately 2-0 some guy. Look at that. It's impressive.
I do. I think I'd have to look at the screenshots again, but I believe most of my wins were 2-0. But anyway, so I'm just sitting here. I'm just sitting, waiting for the round to turn over, and I'm just like, please don't cue me into Jason. Please don't cue me into Jason. Please don't cue me into Jason. or any of the other. Like, I don't want a friendly fire at this point, obviously, because we all worked so hard, got so far, blah blah blah. But so I didn't cut anything in this match because it's all one clip, or it was all one raw video source when I went back to stitch stuff together. So I just left everything as is. Didn't want to have to like cut around stuff, but my prep literally involves grabbing this text editor and splitting it into buffers and just copying my opponent's entire 3 deck lists card for card, just so that I always have the reference for it in game. Second
I
monitor.
ran downstairs to grab a drink. Who's the opponent? And what's the third deck?
Opponent is Prodigy,
Okay.
and their lineup is
Okay, Scion was the deck I didn't see.
Tree, Scion, and Viego. So I end up writing down their lists. Of note, the Scion list has 2 copies of Aftershock to fix their tree matchup, along with this Farron. So obviously not what you want to see.
That is. Hold on. That has 1 copy of Rummage.
Yes, it has 1 Rummage, 1 Culling Strike.
You mind looking
Now,
at
who
the
am I to argue with
Diego list?
results? But I don't really know who Calling Strike is for in this meta.
I also don't get it. I guess they just wanted a 4th to get excited.
Maybe they just really hate Vagar.
It's for Vagar. You're right.
I buy that.
That's who it's for.
Was there a? I thought someone else was trying to say something as well. Did I miss?
I was
They're
at
in Noxus. Why run Aftershock and not the other one?
Scorched Earth.
Yeah.
Aftershock goes face.
Burn
That's the
down.
only reason I can think of.
Up
yeah.
upstairs.
But you're Scion. You have 3
But-
get excited 3 Mystic shots. You don't need 2 Aftershocks.
But people
Face
also
is-
run triple Noxian Fervor, so apparently they do. They just send burn face. It's a time-honored strategy.
Okay.
I do think double Aftershock is kind of sus. The way I would build this. So, like, the Aftershocks do make sense because they have a Farron, so they have a bunch of Decimates. They have the GEs, they have the Mystic Shots. I believe this list also was on Double Cannon, Double Grenadier, and Biggest Fan, so they're, like, slanted slightly aggressively as well on top of that. So I can see double Aftershock being fine. But the way I would probably do it is I would Coward split Aftershock and Scorched Earth. Just because Scorched Earth is... It's another way... It's relentless. It's relentless pursuit, right? Like, you kill your own Scion, then you get a rally. Like, that's... If you're going to play
I
these,
think
like, dirtily slow split card type cards, like Aftershock, like Scorched Earth, if you're going to play multiples, you should be splitting the diff as much as possible.
Yeah. I don't know. This list seems a little strange to me.
I mean, I can't argue with results. Like,
Yeah, that's
It's
kind of my thought. Like,
yeah, it's not the list I would run, but I get the idea of just like send burn face.
like this.
I mean,
this
yeah,
list
again.
has like what? It's 15, 21, 21. So 20. It has 29 points of just raw burn between
So
the Farron
yeah.
Decimates, the 5 threes in the 3 GEs, the 2 Aftershocks, and the 3 Mystic Shots. That's 29 points of burn. Like, if you ever go to 10, you are just dead against this deck.
Yeah, so I posted the one I played this week, the past 5 days, to push the Masters. It's similar, but very different in a lot of ways. I just think one Rummage. I don't understand one Rummage.
Yeah, I definitely don't understand the 1 Rummage in my opponent's deck either. Like,
I
Rummage,
definitely think the one Farron is right though.
Yeah, 1 Farron is definitely good. Jason was also on 1 Rummage, or 1 Farron, but
Yeah.
I think Rummage is, like, it's wild in a deck with, like, Lost Soul, Draven, Scion, but, like, Rummage is a contender for the best card in Draven Scion. Like, that's not a joke. That is a legitimate. It is legitimately in consideration. So going down to only one copy is very sus to me.
Yeah.
Juxta also pointed out in my DMs, this Draven Scion list has no copies of Flock.
Waka Flocka?
Which, given their extremely aggressive slant, makes sense, right?
Yeah, this person. Yeah, I am fine. I'm actually like fine with this person not running flock, based on the rest of the construction of this list. Like if I was like based on what they're trying to do with it, I wouldn't run flock either.
Right.
It is like I think otherwise it would be strange. Like the mid-rangey builds, it doesn't make any sense. But this is the Smork build with which is why Aftershock and Culling are weirder.
Well, Aftershock's less weird because like the fail rate.
Because Aftershock goes face, yeah.
But the Culling Strike, yeah, that one's off to me. Like the Culling Strike should just be like the third Aftershock or the second Rummage. Like apparently
I
this
guess
person just got
yeah.
got by Vagar too many times or something.
I think they're trying. I think the idea is to try and play around the 9x Minimorph lineup,
Sure.
which is why you'd have two landmark removal and one culling.
Yep. 2 landmark removal for like tree, whatever.
Yep.
Which, given
I mean, you are literally. Are you on a 9? Are you on 9x Minimorph?
I'm on 8, but the Darkness
Yeah.
list has 2 stress defenses, so it's effectively 9x.
Yeah.
Which my opponents. So if we just roll back, just God, this is why doing this via YouTube is kind of sucky sometimes. It's like just trying to like land on the exact frame you want is tough sometimes. But opponent's lineup is built to. So like we looked over the Scion list a lot, but their lineup in general is built to beat up on 9x Mini. Like a 9x Mini Morph lineup in the abstract should never win a match against this lineup. Whichever control deck they let me keep, or actually, so my opinion on the matter was I think they were supposed to ban Tree away from me and force me to play both control decks, because I can't ban both of the explicitly anti-control decks, and I only get to play, like, they can just play Viego until they get a win with it, or whatever, right?
So is Viego not bad into Minimorph?
Viego, well, okay, so this actually gets into why I lose this match, right? I'm gonna spoiler. I ended up banning Viego,
Interesting.
and that was due to the fact that I have no clue what the hell Viego does. I obviously understand, like, Viego gets bigger as you play Encroaching Mists. You play a bunch of Encroaching Mists. You have the Hydra Vine that just summons an Encroaching Mist every turn. So if you have a Viego and a Hydra Vine, your Viego levels over the course of a turn cycle. I get that, but like the very fine play pattern stuff, the how to actually play against Viego, I was not comfortable with that, and so I felt that I stood a better chance at winning the tree mirror than I did against Viego, just due to a lack of understanding of how Viego works.
Yeah,
However,
it's sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, like, I psyched myself out, and I 100% should have banned Tree.
Yeah, I have to. Go ahead. Actually, you go first.
No, I was
Because you
just gonna
started.
say that it's not like Viego. Like it's not like Minimorph is not good into Viego, but Viego decks, especially like the Thresh Viego ones, there's like so many Minimorph targets. Like you kind of want a Minimorph Viego, but you kind of also need to really get rid of those snap vines. But sometimes Thresh gets close to leveling, and then what do you do? So it's not like Minimorph like isn't good, but it's just like you need more than you have.
They get overloaded, is the
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, you still need to win at like a reasonable rate, otherwise they're just still gonna overwhelm you.
Which none of these decks, besides Tree, can actually win at a reasonable clip. Like
Yeah.
I think between both Shellfolk and Darkness combined, I think I had one win, maybe 2 game wins before turn 10. And one of them was I was playing against TK Raka with Darkness. I slammed a Vagar on 4. It lived. I flipped it on turn 7. Turn 8, I sent a dark, or turn 9, I sent an 8 damage Darkness upstairs. Played an Ishtali Sentinel. Sent 2 more 8 damage Darknesses upstairs.
Yep. That'll do it.
That's like the only way either of these decks actually wins before turn 10, is just
Yeah.
stealing it with an unchecked Vagar. So, like, talking through it a little bit, I'm less convinced that banning Viego is wrong, but it may not have been entirely correct. Like
My personal feeling is that banning the deck you have no practice against is never wrong, even if it's not right.
right.
Sure. I haven't seen the match obviously, but it also makes it feel like this exact lineup makes you, and I'm interested in your opinion on this. It makes you regret not having Scorched Earth in the tree deck. It's like this exact lineup here.
So like I could see there's a case for both, right? And
Sure.
like so my Leo and I did like a brief scrim before this, and we talked about it. We tried to find a slot in the tree deck for the 3rd mini, because we had 1 Scorch, 2 mini, and I wanted 3 mini, because my goal with my lineup was to just leave Scion up and just kill him with mini morphs and win the match off the back of that. And it worked out. Like, that is how I 7-2'd. Like, I think there were only like 2 lineups that didn't have a Scion, so I was able to just
Wow.
abuse all of the Scions that queued into me. I think so. The Scorched Earth could have helped me in the Tree Mirror, but I did end up winning the Tree Mirror anyway. And obviously
There you
that's
go.
results oriented, so I shouldn't think that way. But I don't think Scorched Earth matters in the Tree Mirror as much as you would think. Because
I think, yeah.
because like
God.
the game's gonna go on for like a little bit, and you're gonna see about half your deck. So you're gonna see about 1.5 trees, because there's gonna be like 7 or 8 aloofs cast in this game. There's going to be pokey sticks cast. There's just enough is going to transpire that, and enough turns are going to go past that you're very likely to see a second tree, and because of mini morphs and the fact that you're encouraged to take big units with Mayor to insulate the trees in your hand, you're extremely likely to be able to play a tree, they kill it, play another one. And then that one is either turned on all the way or within one region of being turned on all the way. I also was under the impression that the tree mirror was going to be rare enough that it didn't matter. And the other decks that use landmarks are Thralls, which takes ban precedence over basically anything, because this lineup is stone dead into Thralls. But then Spooky Karma has like 1 to 2 copies of Catalog of Regrets, but I think nobody's going to be on that deck either because Go Hard is not good right now. And the SI Freljord decks, your Feel the Rushes. But like if you're one, you should have 3 toughness on a bunch of your things because of Poppy, because it can't kill a Poppy. And if you're Scorched Earthing a Blighted Ravine, it's like, sure, you maybe win the game, but like, if they have Avalanche and not Ravine, then you're just boned, right? So I definitely think the Scorched Earth in Tree is kind of sus, but I can see arguments for and against it. Given what my lineup wanted to do, I think it was correct for me to not have it. But if you were playing, say, double aggro with Tree or something like that, maybe it's more of a consideration. Because you need to get... They play like... This is obviously not a real example, but like they play like a Braum or something and give it astral protection, and you need to get around it because or something like then at that point then the Scorched Earth to kill the Braum is actually useful. Like the kill a unit with damage on it is probably more relevant than the shatter a landmark mode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
In case I missed it, so you were going to ban Thresh Viego. Did you think about what they were going to ban?
Yeah, that was actually my next question because you mentioned briefly that you thought that optimally they should ban Tree.
Yep, that was my thought because my thinking is that so I wish I had like something. Coaches have like this NFL thing where they can just draw on top of their screen, but I don't have that, which would make this a lot easier. Let's grab snipping tool and go open my extremely legal copy of Photoshop. I do not want to go try to find drivers for this extremely legal copy of Photoshop. And I need a pen, a brush. Okay, so the tree mirror is a wash. That's just a fact. And I think both of my control decks are a favorite into Scion. So do this. I definitely think Viego is a favorite into both of these control decks, and I think Tree is a favorite into both control decks as well. So, the way I'm seeing it is they have three good matchups, or they have three matchups where I'm favored, and there's 6 where they're favored. And this is the deck. The Tree is the deck that has the fewest positive options for them. I know this is like kind of a mess and John Madden-y or whatever, but I hope it gets the point across.
Yeah.
Oh, big fan of Madden.
So
I mean, I think that analysis is right. I just wonder, like, if you expected them to ban Tree, right?
yep.
I guess wouldn't that mean optimally you ban Tree, right?
Yeah, the problem is you have to weigh optimization versus information.
No, I agree. I think it was.
Yeah,
I still think it was the
optimally
right
you.
call based on like prep and expectations. I mean, I know a couple of people have been like hyping up and talking about Thresh Viego for a long time. Like I know Roji was on it and a couple others, but I wouldn't have been prepared for it.
Right.
And I think I think in that case it was probably correct.
I was about to say, I think I owe it to myself to play a bunch of matches with this deck to try to figure out what the hell it actually does during the off season. Like, I'm definitely going to be looking at I'm going to be looking at Viego decks. I'm going to be brushing up on Lee Sin. I'm probably going to brush up on Tree. But my range is just always these slower than molasses control decks. And it is something that's extremely exploitable. And the fact that I was able to just ban Poppy was basically a crutch for me. The fact that my lists were tuned to beat Scion and I could just ban Poppy for free, just carried me through these open rounds. But back to the point, back to the question. So, say I expect opponent to ban Poppy because it's the only thing that has good matchups into their lineup. I don't think the one of these I ban in the abstract matters that much. So, Ezreal Vi has one copy of Aftershock in it. But I don't think that actually matters. I think, like, the only time that would actually matter is if I Shellfolk Time Trick into Aftershock so that I have multiple Aftershocks for their trees, and I can stay ahead on the board, and I don't get my Shellfolk minied, and I don't... Basically, a lot has to go right for that to work. The Darkness list, on the other hand, like, I have the outs of they don't have a good answer to Vigar on 4. They're I don't recall their exact list, but I think they're only on like 2 flocks, so they have to like group shot plus flock my Vagar or mini my Vagar to take it off the table. So my darknesses are effectively guaranteed to scale against Tree, which opens me up to Ishtali lines. But given that we are not in the abstract, regardless, I'm forced to ban Viego because I don't know what it does, and I rather the devil I know. And then I operate under the assumption that opponent bans Tree. However, if we go back to the video, opponent ends up banning Darkness. which makes basically no sense to me, thinking about it.
Yeah, retrospectively, the way that deck is tacked, it makes absolutely no sense.
The only thing I can think of is they looked over my deck lists and they counted the number of answers to Scion and came to the conclusion that 4 is more than 3, so they got rid of this. But yeah. So this ban phase was kind of awkward. But now there's actually something else interesting here. And this goes back into the Drizzoth matching pennies tweet. As much as I am loath to bring that up again. And Jason is entirely correct here that there is a correct deck for me to pick here. And what I am supposed to do is I'm supposed to pick Ezreal first.
Yes. Because you need to guarantee... You need to create the best odds for a tree mirror, right?
The other way, actually. So
Okay.
So
So the reason I'm thinking it that way is because you feel good about the tree mirror.
I don't necessarily feel
Like,
good about the tree mirror, but it's more I feel better about the tree mirror than I do about playing Ezreal into tree.
right.
Like, the fact that this is
Okay.
a wash is better for me than this. But the key thing here is I need this match. I need this matchup to happen. If this matchup doesn't happen, then I lose the match. Because, say I pick tree first. If I pick tree and they pick Scion, then
They could win with Scion, which means you don't get it.
which locks me out of being able to play that matchup.
Yep.
So, whereas if I lead, so what I ended up doing was I led with tree, they played Draven, I got oopsed, and then I had to both win the tree mirror and beat it with Ezreal, which is not easy, and it did not happen.
Did you end up putting any aftershocks into that list?
There is one in the Ezreal deck.
Okay. Which is unfortunately really not enough.
It's not. I have to Shelf Oak, copy my Aftershock with Time Trick, because there's no landmark destruction that there's no landmark destruction that either Conchologist or Loping Telescope can generate. Off the top of my head, maybe there's like some obscure sequence of cards that lets me take something off the table, but yeah, it's not a good scene.
Yeah.
So
To be fair to Drizzoth, his like the theory only holds if all matches are equal.
right.
Like it's only it's only like game theory optimal if all matches are equal.
Correct. Yep. And since there's this lopsided matchup, that theory goes out the window.
Yep.
I've been talking for an hour and a half straight, and I've already... Oh, wait, no. I have a second water right here. Perfect. So, we've already talked at length about this ban phase and the first pick. And I've already spoiled this game, but you can see. I guess this won't show up in the VOD, but as soon as I see that I have picked Tree and my opponent has picked Draven, I just put my head in my hands, and I'm just like thinking to myself, I have to win this game. If I lose this game, I lose the match. And obviously, since we've talked about it and spoiled it, I did lose the game and I lost the match. But I definitely think it was.
I mean, just from the chapter markers, you can see it's not that simple since you did go to a game 3.
We did get a game 3, so yeah. So it did go to a game 3, so it was not easy. But so looking at this hand, if we are to win a game with Tree against Draven Scion, this is probably the way we do it. We have so many good things here. We have Poppy when we're attacking on evens. We have Bandle Commando when we're attacking on evens. We have a 1-drop, and our curve is perfect.
Yeah, I was about to say this is clearly a full keep, right?
Full keep, just snap it off. Actual perfects. Nothing could be better. Also, for people always ask me when I do this, you can move the clock. It just can't be the first object you interact with when you load into the game. If you click,
You just blew my mind.
Yep.
I had literally no idea you could move the clock.
Yep. It's actually really important because every deck tracker just covers the clock.
Yep.
But if you can move the clock, since you can move the clock out of the way, now it's actually in a place that the deck tracker UI doesn't interfere with it.
Yeah, I usually
If you're
just
playing on
bump
mobile-
my deck tracker down to cover my name.
If you're playing on mobile, the clock covers the opponent's hand too.
Oh, jeez. Yuck.
Well, honestly, the opponent's hand interface on mobile is horrible.
I was
Sure.
about to say you can't do that type of interface well on mobile. So anyway, my first few turns are incredibly scripted. Play Fizz, play Bandle Commando, connect with it. This is the first interesting turn of the game. Opponent plays a Draven, and they have a Chompers in hand. I am still presented with the planned actions of play Telescope, play Owlcat, hope to untap and slam a Poppy. I have now also been presented with play Lulu. I have also been presented with play Telescope, play Group Shot. And on top of that, I have also been presented with play Stun Spider on Draven, and then untap and still have most of those same options, but in addition I have Poppy, which Poppy supersedes all of those by a lot, for obvious reasons.
Yeah. That was my first thought, seeing Sun Spider.
Personally, as someone that has played both decks, Arachnoid Sentry is really rough into Scion. It can buy you a lot of extra time that they're not ready for. So honestly,
Yeah.
I think I would probably go with probably Telescope and Owlcat into Poppy next turn, potentially.
I think that's the right line, right? Like I think I like the idea of Stun Spider more than I like it in actuality.
Basically, the Stun Spider is just it's a good Noxus unit, so you don't have to worry about getting a Noxus unit off your tree, because like there's so much random big shit in Noxus that you can get that also is just like actively bad to play. so you want to make sure you don't have to get Noxus off your tree.
Counterpoint, you don't have tree right now. So you can probably wait on trying to push that win condition by a turn to buy yourself the upside of buying a whole last turn with a Scion hit.
Right. I'm just more talking about like from the perspective of why it's in the deck.
Mm-hmm.
That's more deck building stuff.
Plus, you also have Flocks in the list, right? Like, imagine if you rip Flock off the top here.
Then I get to just
And you just go, like, Sentry Flock on, I don't know, Draven, probably.
probably. Although that would take my Poppy turn, and I still have to like int my.
You can wait till the turn after. You don't
Yeah,
have
you know,
to.
they're not gonna open on turn 5 probably.
Right. So anyway, I developed the Owlcat first, and thinking on it, I'm not sure if this is correct or not. Like, I'm obviously
Man, it's mana positive. I think it's right.
I'm developing this no matter what, but I'm thinking maybe I should have developed Telescope first. Although it's this weird like tension between which information do I want to have when opponent goes to combat, right? Because they're attacking on odds. They're going to spend their priority developing a unit, and then they're going to go to combat. That's just the play pattern of this deck. It's what's going to happen. So, do I want to hold... Actually, no. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think developing the Telescope first is correct. Because I will have gotten all of the information that I'll get this turn by the time they've played this Draven. So developing this Owlcat first is incorrect, and I should have instead developed the Telescope.
So, on the other hand, developing the Owlcat withholds a lot of information from your opponent and opens up more options to you based on how the rest of the turn plays out. You're right that based on Draven, there's not many ways the rest of this turn can play out. But it does leave more open for you. And the fact is you're going to get more Owlcats. I kind of prefer throwing away the Owlcat to throwing away the Telescope.
Well, so they're the same.
Even though they're the same.
They're the same body, but the Owlcat does have Spell Shield on it. But they're also just never going to spend like a Mystic Shot on an Owlcat, right?
Yeah, they're also never going to spend it. It seems unlikely they'd ever spend it on a Telescope either.
Right. So it's kind of a wash, I guess, but like I don't think the slight information bleed on my end benefits my opponent relative to the information I can gain off of the Telescope.
I think that's fair.
Like say I hit the snake off of Telescope. Then I just never block the monkey in a million years. And I just use the snake to pull the monkey. Right?
Just to be clear, you don't mean you're taking 6. You mean you're chumping instead of blocking the monkey.
Right. Actually, I think I might... I don't remember this game in particular very well. I could very well take 6, but I think I do just take this trade. Yeah, I take this trade. But, yeah. So... But yeah. I think telescoping first was optimal. Equinox, obvious best option presented by a lot. Slam the Poppy, make them have it.
They always do.
They always do.
And it's the Fearsome Rider?
It is Fearsome Rider that they pitched. So
Okay.
I'm gonna get chunked.
Yep.
although they did develop their thing, Twin Blade.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at just like having card names just off the
So
tongue, but
yeah, I see that you ended up doing Stone Spider.
Yep.
Consideration for Owlcat.
I do.
They have 1 mana left, right?
Correct.
I think we already said that like Stun Spider into Scion specifically is really good. Since they are attacking on odds, they have to develop it on their attack token, which you just answer.
Correct.
And playing Owlcat opens up a lot of the same options. Specifically opening up group shot on the rider. That said, what that closes off is Twin Blade gets to eat something for free, but it does let you clean it up afterwards with Pokey or Equinox.
I was about to say I'm gonna take this screenshot and pull this into Photoshop.
They're tapped out now. They basically can't have anything.
Yeah, I guess I do need the mana for this screenshot as well.
I mean, we know your mana. You're at full mana. They're at no mana.
Okay, so my thinking is I play Stun Spider, stun this. This prevents the Twin Blade from pulling 3/2 out of the way, which allows me to get a block on this. Because this is not, like, I don't think I can afford to take this hit, right?
No.
Also, I shouldn't be drawing on this layer. I should be drawing on a new layer. But yeah, so I develop this, stun this, because I need to block this. However, something I should have noticed is they have Chomper's Axe. So this block is never going to happen anyway.
That's a good point.
So if we draw out, so if we have 2/1 here, then what happens?
So then you have 4 mana open, right?
They axe.
They probably don't even axe chompers at this point.
They
probably
wouldn't
just
bother
go for the
axing
1/2.
Chompers, but what they would do is they would probably yoink your elusive and full swing otherwise.
So it would be this here, this.
You chumped her even with a 2/1, and then group shot the 4/2.
Yeah.
And they can't survival skills because there's a stronger unit on the board.
Yep. And then you clean up the Twin Blade with the Equinox post combat.
So then
You go down to 2 mana left.
2 mana. This is.
And then I honestly roll it over.
This is gone. Yep. Then I bank, and then that lets me have a turn to establish tree.
Maybe. Establish tree. You could Lulu.
Else with my mana, like Lulu just doesn't spend my mana efficiently. But like thinking about what we can do on the next turn doesn't really do anything until we see our next card anyway.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I definitely think using the Stun Spider is wrong, and I believe it costs me the game. I could definitely see I can easily imagine a world where it costs me the game. But
I guess what comes down to like what really is going to make this Stun Spider lose you the game right now without knowing any other information. Who attacked first? They attacking first?
they attack odds. Yep.
Yeah, that's a huge bad thing. That you're gonna leave the spider out because they're gonna slam Scion on 7 and say, "Do you have the answer?" And Arachnoid Sentry is one of those answers. At least
Arachnoid
for a minute.
Sentry is basically your answer unless you get another telescope.
If they were attacking on evens and they still slam Scion on 7, then Sentry isn't going to do anything.
Like, yeah. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And that just speaks to my inexperience with this archetype. And this list, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So then what ends up happening is they still have to pull this 3-2 out of the way. So at this point, they axe on Draven, and yeah. So
I think the rest of the line plays out the same, right? It's just less mana positive, and you don't have your Sentry anymore.
Actually, I think there's a slightly better line. So, where's Photoshop? There's Photoshop. So, say I have this 2-1 in play. I'm very rusty with Photoshop. So say we have this in play. This goes here, drags this over here. This attacks, this attacks. There's never a world where they try to axe this Draven? Is there a world where
They would honestly, they'd probably do it. Is that there's already an axe on Draven this turn?
There's already an axe on Draven, so they get to level Draven.
What? I mean, no, they wouldn't do it because you have 4 units on, and like if you played the Owlcat, they wouldn't do it because you have absolutely the mana to kill Draven this turn.
Right,
and they have no answer.
Yeah, I have exactly kill Draven, silence this, and just take this chunk.
Yeah, which is fine. If that's what you need to do, that's fine.
So
it's not ideal, but
yeah. So they would never. The only reason they shoved into this is because I inted away my stun spider.
Problem with this line is it plays into survival skills, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No.
Poro cannon survival skills.
Poro cannon survival skills, yeah, but I believe they're only on 1 cannon. Maybe they're on 2.
That's weird.
I mean,
I think they were on 2. For all the conversation about their list, I didn't remember thinking the Poro cannon numbers were weird.
Sure. Yeah, they're on 2.
They're on 2.
Okay, so.
Wait, hold on.
2 after.
They're not on it. They're not on. They're not on.
Go back 10 more seconds. You'll see it.
No, they're not on survival skills at all.
Oh.
Survival skills.
Oh, that changes everything then.
Yep.
I was gonna say we're playing around survival skills because I'm a dum-dum and I didn't even notice that they don't have it.
Yeah. And at this point, I think I'm sufficiently rattled by the fact that I inted away playing Ezreal into Scion that I didn't think about that either. But yeah, I think regardless, knowing this, I think we're supposed to try to kill the Draven regardless of whether they go aggro or not. But at this point,
I think it's still right to kill the Fearsome and not the Draven this turn.
Sure. Yeah, because then we go to 13.
I really don't give 2 shits about this Draven, honestly.
Yeah. Because in the other line, they're also not flipping Draven. Or if they are, then you kill it.
Right. But the fact that I closed off the option to kill the Draven by playing this stun spider is what cost me this game. Because this Draven flips, they end up generating like 7 axes off of it, and they just have infinite ways to cycle twin blades, and I just get attritioned out. And I also just died to the fucking Scion too.
Yeah, in this case, you also
should have
should
shot
checked.
Draven there.
Yeah, I think we all know. Like, I think you already know that one.
Yep. Chump Draven more. Chump Draven
Yeah.
more. So, at this point, we have 6 mana. I believe at this point, I am supposed to, on my first priority, develop tree. My thinking is I want to play around aloof,
Yep.
which they have one of, so it's not particularly likely that I get punished for not developing tree immediately. But
I don't like Owlcat there at the end of the
I
last
think it
turn.
was supposed to be Equinox there, so you could open tree.
Yeah, because I really want to open with this Equinox here as kind of like a soft pass.
Yep.
sure.
But I think
That way we don't have to
you're
sink
right
our
that you
entire
can't
turn
soft
bare
pass.
naked with their 7 mana open, which is really scary.
On the other hand, this would be an ideal aloof turn for them if they have the one of.
Yeah.
So like, not soft passing to and letting them throw away your Vandal tree is kind of like ideal. But again, I don't think you can afford to let them aloof your tree.
End up going for Lulu instead. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Right. So then this Lulu probably
This I don't
turns for
like.
something. Yeah, if I'm going to do this, I'm supposed to Equinox this.
Did they just straight up pass, or did they play? No, they played Stomp, right?
They played Sump.
Yeah.
They have another Fearsome Rider in hand off of the Sump.
I would have Equinoxed the 4/3 first
Yes.
Yep.
before the swing.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Granted, that I guess that doesn't matter, but
Yeah, it makes it not matter.
I do still inevitably connect the Equinox, but then... So then I would have pushed 2 more damage if I had done that pre-combat. I keep ignoring this Fizz, and I think I've ended up missing at least 4 damage so far off of this.
I think that's a problem with tree players just broadly. I don't think that's a you thing.
You just think of this Fizz in the absolute terms of this is just here to give me bilge water.
Yep.
dumb question. Are you on Buster Shot?
0 Buster.
Oh, that explains. I feel like having 2 Buster specifically for this matchup is a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
This list is on 0 Busters.
Hold on. I actually want to look at this again.
Yep.
I would easily trim like 1 Vandal Commando and 1 Pokey Stick for 2 Buster.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can afford to go down from 3 pokies, but otherwise I don't disagree.
Can you go down to like 2 House Spider?
No, House Spider is the only
House
reason
Spider's too
House,
for this list. It's
House-
2
House
regions
Spider-
for
like-
tree on turn 2.
House Spider is the only reason you're in Noxus.
Yep.
Like otherwise you'd be in another region.
Because
Probably Bilge.
because you don't want to play Tenor of Terror on purpose in this deck, because House Spider is just better than Tenor of Terror, because
Yep.
it gives you 2 regions and it's 2 bodies and 1 priority for only 2 mana.
Yeah, I think it would be down. I think it's down a Commando, down a Bomber Twins. Honestly,
Yeah, triple.
I think you need 3 Bomber Twins.
I really don't, because Bomber Twins comes up on Mayor, and honestly, any random
It's on
unit
Mayor, it's too
on
late,
on
right?
Sharima is always good. Like it's almost always good.
It's on Mare, it's too late. You need it for Risen Rider.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
you're
why
right. You
I
need it
want
for this
to-
matchup for Risen Rider.
There's also the possibility, like, this main deck Protoporo is kind of nonsense. You can theoretically trim an aloof because it's one of the cards that you're actively interested in taking off of Mayor. Like, if we... So if we look at this deck list and just try to figure out what the core is, we need all 3 mayors, we need all 3 spiders, we need all 3 trees, we need all 3 telescopes, we need all 3 poppies. The Fizz Lulu numbers are kinda whatever. Anything, and I guess 3 Pokey can be considered core, but then like any other number in the deck is flexible, right? I guess if
Yeah, I think the only way you change their number of pokies is if you go up a hidden pathways. You need some draw power.
right. So yeah, I definitely think I want to go down a commando, and yeah, this thing is just this is nonsense. Get it out of there. 0. Poops.
The
So
problem is you probably need it out of just trying to turbo tree, and having
yeah,
any one drop is probably good.
yep. You
Because you
need
do kind of
the
luck
deck.
in the early game
Yeah,
department.
yeah. Like my tree list is like honestly very different, but it's like pretty old. So
I was about to say like we talked about, the core for tree is so small. It's
yeah,
basically just mayor, tree, telescope, house spider,
yep,
like, and pokey. So you
yeah,
have like 25 cards to do whatever you want.
yep. Because you have Lulu, I think it's extremely safe to cut a commando.
Yeah. I could also even just skew even harder towards Lulu and just go down to
You
like
can
1
I
commando.
think you can't.
I have to.
I think you can't because you need 2 Fizz.
Yeah, I buy that.
Fizz is a 1 drop, and Bilgewater is just worse to get like randomly because you will never hit um Ionia off of Mayor. It doesn't exist. Um, but you might as well never be able to never hit Bilgewater on Mayor because the card you can't take.
Because it's always Shark Trainer, which is a 7, which is just not palatable to take basically ever, unless you're playing against Darkness or some shit.
Yep.
Yeah. So like a lot of this is just like me taking a list blindly and just applying heuristics to it that don't actually apply. Something else that we could consider, we could also go down to 2 minis for 2 busters. Like, this number is also flexible. And having access to Buster, I think, is what cost me this game. But I could also be off.
I think it did. I think in a lot of these matchups, having a Buster to kill Draven on curve is really good for you a lot of the time,
Yeah.
especially in this
Your
matchup.
Buster kills Poppy every time, and it kills Draven every time, and that's why it's in every deck it's in.
Except survival skills. But if there's survival skills on turn 1 with that, okay. Whatever.
But yeah. I do like, now that you mention it, Leo, I think we are actually supposed to keep the 1 Protoporo because the 1 deck slot doesn't actually cost that much, and the times this comes up, it's really important. So
Plus, a lot of the Freljord cards that you'll get randomly are pretty expensive.
yes.
Where's my? I just played a game of Tree today, so let me. What is one of my that makes it different? I'm probably closer to Prodigy's list because we can see the Prodigy's not on Alulu.
Correct. They also only had 1 Fizz.
They only had 1 Fizz. That's really interesting.
Yeah, we can look at their list because we do end up playing the Tree Mirror. So we
Yeah.
can look at that list once we get closer to that match.
Yeah.
So they open attack, my 3/2 blocks, I take all these blocks. This Draven just runs me down. just generates a million axes, becomes unchumpable. I play Tree into their 6 open mana. They aftershock it. I'm very sad. And then basically...
They aftershock it?
They aftershock it.
That's GG.
Yeah, basically nothing else in this game actually matters at this point. I'm just gonna die to the Straven, and Scion doesn't matter. But then they also...
So they didn't have Scion on 7?
They didn't have Scion on 7.
They had Captain Farron, though, which is probably worse.
It
is absolutely worse.
They had Farron on 8, when I'm at 8 health, and a spell mana banked. So I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just open dead.
I gotta sneeze real quick. Now I just look like a doofus because I didn't have to actually sneeze. Just felt like one. But yeah, so I die.
Just cut it.
Nothing matters. So this matchup that I actually wanted is no longer on the table, and so I am definitely not in a good spot.
What's in their tree list?
Yes, we were.
Yeah, now's the time.
Because that will determine whether or not you're actually favored, I think.
So we're looking at my list. Okay.
Alright, 1 Fizz.
They are not on Scorched Earth, so that was the one thing I wanted to look at.
They're not on Scorched Earth, which I think means you're favored.
Yep.
Because
you're favored
have...
in the mirror, not with Shellfolk.
Correct, yes, correct.
Because my out...
One of Aftershock?
The one of Aftershock, but if they had a Scorched Earth, I could try to swipe it with pranks or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they don't often be dead in their hand in that matchup.
Yes. But the fact, yes, for the mirror, it means you're favored. Specifically because they don't have the Lulu that you have. And they can't do anything about your tree to slow you down.
Yep.
I think 1 Fizz is absolutely wrong. You're on 3 run drops and they're on 2, which I guess doesn't matter for the mirror. They're on 3 Buster Shots, which is just, it's useless in the mirror.
Yep. They do have Hidden Pathways, which Hidden Pathways could be good in the mirror.
Hidden Pathways is good in the mirror, but I mean, like, you have Pokey Sticks, you're fine.
Right. But yeah, so I play this game like fucking dog water, like just awful. I play it horribly.
You keep Commando.
I ship away the Commando because I'm attacking on odds, but that was my logic for it anyway. It's the same reason I shipped the Poppy. Also,
the main reason you want to keep Commando here is not to get in with Commando, but to block their Commando and slow down their win condition.
Yep, I agree. Commando is the only way they beat you.
Because it's the only way they can get Ionia.
It's the only way they can get Ionia without their tree. But, like, all things equal, your tree will just be one step ahead of theirs. Because you have Ionia main deck. On the other hand, this is also a very good hand.
Yeah, I dig it.
I believe I lead on Poro because it attacks better. And I have the ability to draw a spell to make the Fizz better. This one of Proto Poro coming in clutch.
And you wanted to cut it.
I did want to cut it. I have learned the folly of my ways. So I play Telescope. This is actually, like, kind of interesting.
What? This is kind of a garbage-ass Telescope.
Yep, this is a bad Telescope, but I think you take the Equinox for the same reason you wanted to keep Commando in the opening.
Yep. And I believe I
Problem
do
is we
take
haven't
two
seen
orders.
Commando yet, so I think that might be a little bit too niche. What else are we trying to silence? Oh, we could silence Mare. I
Yep.
guess that could be relevant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd probably snap the Equinox then, thinking about it more.
Take the block because
Crazies.
I think the simplified board state favors me.
Yep.
Double spider kind of sucks.
I'd have just played Bomber Twins there.
I agree.
I was thinking along the lines
Just
of
maintain board parity so they can't push damage.
yeah.
If they try to develop Poppy, you can block it and then poke it
Yep. And now that option is off the table.
off the table. See, that's why.
That's actually very funny that you pitched it and got it back right in time.
Yep. And then I
You take
still
two.
silence it anyway, I think. Not this turn, but the following.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, at this
Well,
point,
I guess it curves really well into Poppy here, but then again, you don't need to silence it with the Poppy. You just play Poppy and then you attack.
Yep,
And then there's
I
the
agree
block.
with play Poppy attack.
So the way I sequence this turn is I do end up silencing this as effectively a soft pass.
I think that also works because you're playing around. Like they have 3F Buster Shot, and they're not. Buster Shot's not online.
But they have
They've
Well,
only
they're
played 3
sleeping
regions.
on 3 damage removal for 2.
yeah, they do only have 3 regions.
Yeah, you could make them like opening Poppy makes them play full mana Buster Shot, which is pretty good for you.
And then I still have the ability to Equinox on the following priority.
Yeah, and then get your Ionia for free. But that, oh boy.
Wow, they just hard rushed. Why did we attack there? They tapped out. We could have developed Poppy here.
I think it's
and got
playing
a
around the Buster
huge
Shot, which we
swing.
assumed.
That's a huge tempo swing.
Did you assume Buster Shot was online?
My thought process was I wanted to try to. Yeah, no, I just don't have a good. I don't have a good
Hold
reason
on.
for this.
What all units did they play so far? They played double House Spider and Commando. That's only
Well,
3,
House
right?
Spider and Commando, and that's it.
This is at 3.
Yeah. Then
I was 100% supposed to play Poppy because then
you should have played Poppy Sport.
Yep, because Poppy advances my tree the same amount, and it pushes a bunch of damage, and it probably breaks their whole board.
If you play Poppy, they might as well scoop. Like,
yeah,
there is no answer, and because like there's no answer to Poppy, and there's no answer to your Commando.
Correct. Which means I will have board control for the rest of the game.
You will have board control and 6 regions with 7th in hand.
Yeah.
7th and 8th in hand. But they know 7th.
Well, no, you'd only have technically 7 right now because we already have a Shurima unit. That's how we got the Rock Bear.
But we would have.
Unless you're talking about like the first thing off.
So you have 6 regions, right? Because you played.
Owlcat. We
right?
still have Owlcat.
Yep.
So Owlcat goes back to hand, but Poppy goes down, which puts you still at 6 regions. Ionia is in hand now. That's visible. 7th region. Travelers is in hand. Not visible. 8th region.
Which leaves
Terrorist and Shadow Isles Noxus. You top deck House Spider. You win on turn 8.
Yep.
So yeah, this just a massive punt. And like I said at the outset, I played this game like fucking dog water. But here I just give them this mayor for free.
Imagine if we had the Equinox here.
Imagine if we had a Poppy in play.
Yeah. We had a Poppy in play and then we follow up with an Equinox, like they're just crippled for the rest of the game. Like, easy. Well, I mean, I guess we could still group shot the mayor, but
yeah, but you did also just get rid of their what is clearly their only Demacia unit, which is very nice.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they would not have taken Yordle Ranger.
Because they have no reason to try to insulate their hand because they already have a tree in play.
Yep.
Now we play Poppy and it dies to basically a lot of things.
Because they have
Now Buster Shot is on. We care a little less at this point about Poppy like dying to Buster.
That's also Saki. That's pretty rough.
yeah, their hand did not come together, and I swear to God, I apparently did my best to try to just gift them this entire game.
This full swing
You
was
could have
clearly
potentially
random.
just straight up won on this swing if you took the swing with Poppy earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
You would have just pushed lethal right there.
Okay, so you just have it in hand now, though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But I throw it away.
Why?
Yeah. I realize look at my face right here. I realize exactly as I play this Owlcat that this cost me the game.
How did playing Owlcat cost you the game?
So I now have to somehow find a way on their turn to trade 2 units.
Oh, two. Yeah. You could trade 1 unit. You can't
Walk
trade
your
2.
mare.
It's like, yeah, I have to like Mayor and Owlcat though, but they somehow have to have an attack that incentivizes attacking with 2 things so that I can get 2 trades.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this gives them an out to if they have, they already have Spider, but they already have the 2 Spider regions. But like they have outs if they hit really well off their tree, for me to just lose here. And now I am saying, as soon
This
as
could have
they,
been a lot cleaner, but at least we're figuring out how.
yes. Literally, all I'm saying at this point is I am taking literally any pass.
You don't need to play Rock Bear. That's just straight up a dead card. If you're gonna play one of the landmarks, you're playing Tree.
Yep. But I don't want to play the tree since it's insulated from an aloof, and it it lets
There
them
is
know
no punish for you playing Tree here, though.
it lets them know my plan though, and they would realize that I'm missing the 2 house spider regions. So they
Well,
would,
here's the thing. You can play Tree, and then play House Spider, and then just immediately play the Shadow Isles unit.
true.
Yeah, that's true. You play
You
House
don't need
Spider,
the
you get
token anymore.
Noxus,
You just
you
need one
burn
of the 2.
you burn Shadow Isles, and you'll get Shadow Isles in turn, and you'll have, unless it's a 10 mana unit,
Plus, you
which
can
I
also
don't think exists in
potentially
Shadow
bait them to
Isles.
be like, oh shit, I gotta go aggro now because I'm losing the Tree War, and they could just win next turn. So now I gotta do something.
Yeah,
And then they could attack you, and then you get your blocks, and then you play House Spider and just win on the spot.
yeah. You still win if you play. You can still play Tree Spider. You lose Shadow Isles, but you get it next turn, and then you just win.
And again, all this just speaks to my inexperience with the deck.
Mm-hmm.
But now I got extremely lucky because their tree sucked, their early game sucked. They had to int away a bunch of stuff. I get all of the slots I need, all the board slots I need to spider tree and win.
Them snapping pass back was very good for you.
Yes.
So it didn't matter because even if they attacked, once the turn ended, you got to open this, play tree, and then slam 2 units and win. Is that the Ionia card that's 2 spells summoned you from hand?
Yep. And it put
That's a good hit. That's a good hit.
It's like the only good hit off Ionia.
Eye of the Dragon, Tech W.
Honestly, I think I'd rather have, depending on the context of my hand, I could see more situations where I want 3-2.
Don't scoop. End the turn so you can see the animation. If they...
I believe he lets me see the animation.
No, he can't scoop. It goes to his turn. If he found the 10th region, he'd win.
Wasn't he only at 8?
He was at 8. Then he played aloof and had 9.
Oh, aloof is 9. But there's no... So
What was
he's-
10? What was he missing?
Targa, Noxus, Demacia, Failure, Shadow, Anxiety,
P-
Rima, Vandal City. He's missing.
P&Z, which is covered by the
He
aloof.
just played PNZ.
God, I hate this. I really wish it was flipped.
They're missing bilge water.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he saw Fizz off that aloof, he won.
Yes. Yeah, because then their tree triggers first and I lose.
Yep.
Yeah, so that earlier misplay with the Owlcat could have potentially cost you the game here. But it was literally a 1 in 26 or something.
Yeah, like,
Actually, no. Would it?
which thing? Which would
I
it?
just realized they played Telescope and thought that they couldn't play Fizz. But I guess they
played Telescope
afterwards.
after the draw.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like, that just meant they didn't draw Fizz.
Is there any epics in Bilgewater for 1 mana that they could have pulled off a Telescope?
No, because it needed to be 0 mana.
Oh,
Because the
Yeah.
mana was dead.
no. Never
They had to
mind.
tap out for Telly.
Be a big dum-dum. It's fine.
There's a lot of variables in these games, though.
Yeah. So a couple things. Could have won off tree like maybe a turn cycle earlier.
Yep.
Could have also got the beatdown win if we took a more aggressive line.
But, I mean,
But I mean,
definitely-
overall, like you still won. You did something right.
I did do something right. And that's something...
It just
was-
could have been cleaner. Granted, this is round 9, and you're like already at like 11:30 midnight type shit. So like, okay.
An hour and a half delayed.
10:30.
I dropped at round 6, and I'm kind of glad that I did now. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're doing this, and I'm not doing this instead.
Also, my mental was just dog water from inting away the ability to have an easy match in Shellfolk versus Scion. So now I'm just like freaking the fuck out and thinking that I cannot win this match. And I think my opponent does a lot to try to get me there. This keep is extremely greedy. I admit this up front, but Shellfolk and
At least pitch the time trick. At least pitch the time trick.
there's 2 time tricks in my deck, and time tricking into Aftershock is the way I can beat a tree.
I think it's also the worst card in the deck.
Turn 7 though. You'll die to Poppy by then.
Yeah.
Well, so in the worst case scenario, I get to cycle away the time trick to try to find an answer to Poppy, if it comes to that, and then I can try to draw into the second time trick.
But you know what else can get you an answer to Poppy? Like having Conchologist in hand.
Yeah. No, I definitely get it. I tunnel visioned entirely too hard on the double
On the time trick Shellfolk Aftershock play, which I think is fair, and it like speaks to the mental. But I don't think it's horrible. Like, I'm not. I mean, I haven't seen the rest of the match yet. I'm not going to say keeping time trick Shellfolk in your open cost you the game.
This is also like something that I'm supposed to lose on paper. Not that it's unwinnable, but it's
Not that unfavored though, is it?
I think it's
It's-
very bad actually.
It's very bad.
So I sum Fumes
Ye-
here because this keeps them off Ionia.
Yeah, I think you have to do that.
I take the 1.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's
This is
not
just
great,
track
but I think you
points.
have to in this case.
I aloof to try to snipe a tree. I hit a mini instead, which we do take the minis. This attack is free. Free-ish. I can get flocked, but like I actively want that to get flocked over like a Shellfolk or something. So I think about mini-morphing the Poppy. They pokey my mare, which sucks.
You should have waited until after combat to poke the mare.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. So now they have double mare.
I think Shellfolk was greedy here.
I concur. It is very greedy.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the hand space for all of this is the thing.
That's funny.
Group shot's great. I love that.
There's a problem with it though.
You're 1 short.
I am 1 short. So I have to spend both group shots to kill this Poppy.
Is that what you do the rest of this turn?
I believe that is what I do. The only other thing I could possibly try to do is like spike a Protoporo out of their hand with the prank. But that, if I miss, I just lose.
Second Shellfolk's kind of nice. You can't do it, but it's kind of nice.
Right?
Buster shot?
I'm still a region short for a enabled Buster.
I mean, it's still just kind of a get excited, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not terrible. You kind of need spot removal here. Also, they just casually roll the elusive, which is kind of funny.
Yep.
For them, not for you. It's actually kind of damning for you.
Yep.
Okay, what do you go to here?
Go
This is
to
8. Okay, timelines is always very funny in this deck.
It's funny, but it's not good.
I don't think it's I don't think it's the pick you make in the
this
tournament.
particular situation, it could actually be correct.
I don't think you have enough units for it to be good.
I said that until I realized that the Shellfolk was dying.
Yep. Because we knew
Because it's like
that
it just snowballs board advantage so hard.
we knew that they
Like,
had
it might be
Buster.
able to be enough to stabilize you, depending.
I think
But-
I think you have to play Shellfolk back out.
I kingpin to get my Buster shot down to 1. They group shot, which is known information.
Do you bust your pokey?
Seems tempo negative. Because we can just chump this 5-4, right? Like,
Yeah.
sure, it deals 1, it makes another dude, but I'd rather get these mares off the table, honestly.
So, my line of put it to 1 splits the diff between poking it and letting it live. And I think
I
Damn
would
it.
just put the 1-1 in front of it.
Yep, I was really just like I was just watching and I'm just like, please see it. Please see that you can Mystic Shot the 3/2. And then you just get their entire board and most of their turn. But
Also, another thing,
No, this is better.
yeah, you could have Mystic Shot the 4. You could have Mystic Shot the 3/2. You could have blocked with a Jury Rig on the 1/1 and then on the 5/1 for safety block. Mystic Shot Pokey. Push the Ezreal level, clear most of their board.
Like, I don't hate this because the draw is good. You got a terrible card, but getting that draw and trying to find some value is not bad.
But what I'm supposed to do is I'm actually supposed to pokey this 1/1, I think.
Yeah, that's probably
Because
true.
the way I win this game is Ezreal connecting. And like
Yeah.
I have another pokey stick, so I can get this 1/1 out of the way at my leisure. So it doesn't actually matter all that much, but I think it is still I think I do need to use this Mystic Shot. However, I reestablish or no, yeah, I take away because I know that they have Furious. I see that they have Fizz, and I believe this puts them at 7 regions. Eight. Still 8.
Yeah, the only way you're gonna win this game is if you had to dig for aftershock there. You had to play the puppy. I think.
No, because Conchologists will do the same thing. Oh, I guess no,
Just can't hit
because
aftershock.
Yeah.
Conchologists can't hit Aftershock. Conchologists can hit Time Trick.
I'd rather have a guaranteed cycle than a chance at a cycle and whiff. Plus, we can always lead off with Conch this turn.
Hey, where'd that come
After
from?
That one came off of a telescope.
that came off telescope. And you're dead.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yikes.
So I still can't minefield the Farron. They open attack.
You have to mini the Farron.
But it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter, but you have to mini the Farron to not just openly die here or give up Shellfolk.
I was about to say I'm just like, is there a line with Ezreal that lets me win this game somehow?
They decimate you once here, then you go probably Bouncing Bomb, Mystic Face, and that's still not enough.
Yeah.
That's only 8 damage. There's the tilt.
Yeah.
Overall, first seasonal, you did pretty good. You did better than I did my first seasonal.
I mean, this isn't my first, but it's like
Oh.
this did set a new PB. I was about to say the Azir Irelia seasonal. I 6-3'd, but that was also like I was getting I was not in Mastering Runeterra for that seasonal. I was over in Drizoth's server. And over there, I got cyberbullied by Lestro into being able to play Ash Noxus at a reasonable level, and that was what let me get the 6-3. I don't know if any of you guys know Lestro. He's
I know Lestro. He hangs
I
out in
know
here
Lestro.
sometimes.
I was about to say he's actually server muted here.
He sure is.
Because
Was not going to mention it until someone else did.
I was about to say I've seen him in these like types of calls a couple of times, and it's just like
Yeah, for reasons that I'm not going to disclose.
I was about
Bro,
to say I think
he was in a.
I think everybody here has read it. I think everybody here knows.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like this is the second seasonal that I took like actually seriously. Like I think the Azir Irelia seasonal was the first one I took seriously. Then this one, I missed last one because I had paper magic events back-to-back weekends for both the Last Chance Gauntlet, and I was nowhere near qualified on ladder. But I also had a magic event the day of the open rounds, so I'm just like, yeah, I'll skip this one, whatever. But then, like, I think I played. It was either the 2 or the 3 before the Azir Irelia one, and I just had like O2s or O3s or something, just like dog water records because I played dog water decks at a very poor level. But I definitely think I definitely improved, and like the gameplay is very, other than this exact match, I think my quality of gameplay has improved a lot. I was going to say we can also talk about yeah, this one. Trying to avoid spoilers. Okay, so I don't know if any. This was like the Leo and I know Leo has seen this, but
Yeah.
I lose this game on this turn from this position. Opponent has used a Get Excited. They have one Mystic Shot in their 40. So they G-Fizz a Grenadier into play. I play an Otter Post because Otter Post counters the Grenadier. They stun my Vi. I end up not
What's the
taking...
text? What's the text on Vi? It's when I strike while
When I
attacking.
strike a unit while attacking, deal 5 to Nexus.
Yep.
Okay, then I don't really care about that stun.
I care about that stun because we can't block.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Because I would have been like, oh, cool, easy blocks.
Mm-hmm. So, second stun spider on my 5/5. I pass.
Huh.
GE my face.
Here's a cheeky line that I just saw. You can mini morph Vi and play another Vi. Gives you 5 blockers.
Yep.
Or 4 blockers.
That's actually better than the line I took. And it's better than the other line that I found.
I mean, it's really hard to mini morph your own champion, but you get a 3/3/2/1/1s and a 10/5 tough. So you're 4 wide to their 5.
I don't know.
You eat all their best units and chump block a 3/2 ephemeral. They're probably left with a 2/2.
I think that's just the line.
I think that is the line now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, now that we're...
I didn't see that yesterday, damn.
So...
Counting your mana. Yeah,
think
you
you
had just
put-
enough to do that.
Yep.
Oh, you have only that much. Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
you
I think
can't
you
thermo.
prank first.
So, the line I thought of was prank them to try to
Hit the fearsome unit.
hit the fearsome unit and either shrink it or... So, actually, I have to look at the pranks, because the pranks... LOR wiki prank.
It's +2 cost, -1 attack vulnerable, -1 attack can't block, and -2 power or -2 health.
There isn't a -2 health, right?
There should be.
There should be.
Yeah, there should be. You just can't hit the 4/2 with -2 health because that would kill it.
Right, so we wouldn't...
Because we just saw in the last game with the Farron, you pranked it to make it an 8/6.
Yep. So...
Yeah, so this is incomprehensive.
Yeah,
Which
this
makes
is
sense. It's a
incorrect.
wiki.
So, I would have... Okay, so...
There would be
this-
5 technical options, but only 4 of them could hit the target. Which would be these 4.
And
And
this...
and-
this is the...
And only one matters.
Yep.
And you had two opportunities to get it, but
I have 2 shots because...
That's
I have
still,
3 and
like-
thermo for 3.
2 1-4s. That's kind of sketchy.
The only-
Unless you hit,
so
hit
the
-1
only-
power twice.
yeah. So part of me thinks instead maybe the line is prank, mini morph, thermo. Or triple prank, mini morph, thermo. You have 3 pranks?
I have 3 pranks, and it doesn't matter what I thermo. The important...
What do you?
The important thing here, though, is... I don't think they have a champion in hand. So,
They would have played it if they did.
They would have played a champion. So the prank is not guaranteed to hit this 4-2. So I have to win a 1 in 3, or I have to win a 2 in 3, and I have to win a 1 in 4. So that's
You have three chances to do it.
right. But I still have to effectively win a. I have to win a 1 in 6 in 1 of 3 times.
So let me think. Let me look at these lines again. Right now, you have 4 units on board and only 2 can block. So there are 5 units on board, 6th in hand. You can go up to 4 blockers, and they can go up to 6 attackers.
Still -2.
You're still -2, in which case you take 5 damage, go down to 1.
Yep.
So none of these are good lines. I think you have.
So the line that I take ends up leaving me at 1. Because they GE me, I go to 6. They pass, they play that. I mini that, I do that. Which is the worst line. Just objectively the worst line. I go to 1, and then I die to Mystic Shot.
That was the wrong block.
Wait, did you straight up thermo for 6 when you could have pranked first?
Thermo for 5, yeah.
You got 2 more hits, possibly.
Yes.
Oh, but they played the fierce.
They already played it, so.
Well, but I had a priority. I passed.
Right. Which was, I mean, passing the priority was actually where you went wrong, in my opinion.
Yes. Correct. That pass, this pass, was what cost me this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's where, okay. Here's where you, if you were going to take the prank, like the triple prank line, here's where you needed to take it, and it's still bad.
Actually,
and you would have never known to
Yeah,
take
then
it
they
from
still
here.
just discard the rider and reset it anyway, because you kind of need to wait to see the other rider if you're looking to hit specifically that.
Forget the rider.
This
Here
pass,
you're
this
looking to
pass
hit.
here was actually fine. Sorry, this one was fine because they hadn't shown me the GE or the rider yet. But once they GE, I'll pass again. That pass is what kills me.
Yeah, so your options here are Minimorph Play Vi, or Prank Minimorph Thermo.
Yep.
Which is basically what you did, except only single prank and 1 priority pass later.
0 pranks. I just don't bother pranking.
Oh, you don't prank, yeah.
Yep. I think my thought process was, I need to keep at least some of these pranks if I'm going to actually win this game, so it was the conflict of, do I play to win or do I play to not lose? And
so to be clear, as far as I can tell, every line takes you to 1. Unless playing Vi stops them from attacking, which I don't think it does.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. So I'm getting a lot of use out of this snipping tool.
The only line that doesn't take them to 1 is RNG. But I think that's just playing to your outs. I think it's still right. I think that means the prank line is right. Wait. No, it still takes you to 1.
Okay.
This is an elk. That goes there. That goes there. That goes there. We have a Vi. That goes in. This goes in front of an otter. Elk eats 4-3. 3-2 goes here. Vi eats.
Then Vi eats the 4-2.
The 4-2, yeah.
So why are you blocking the ephemeral?
Represents more damage.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. There are 3 3-2s to block.
I think it's
So no matter what happens,
like,
we get a 3-2 through and a 2-2 through.
It's not like an actual block that you would make, but it's more of just like shortcutting the process, right?
I mean, the answer, like, the only reason I ask is because when on the actual line we take, we do block the ephemeral and not one of the stun spiders.
Oh, well, that's just wrong.
Yeah, it is wrong. There's one pokey stick left in my deck, but that is the reason. And I'm just like, a lot of it is just like, holy shit, I can't believe I lost from here. And then my blocks just don't matter because I'm just gonna die to whatever burn spell that they obviously have in hand, because they would never take this line if they don't think they have the burn to kill me.
I mean, yeah, if you're... Is there a way to survive and prank?
So our prank has, so we I was about to say, Matt, I think you just joined, like.
Yeah, I literally just got back. Sorry, I had to go eat dinner.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'm just like trying to get context of where we're at. So we ran the numbers. There are 4 prank options that are applicable to the 4-2. It's -1 power can't block, -1 power vulnerable, -2 power, -2 or +2 cost, and then there is the option for -2 health, but you can't prank a thing that would cause it to die immediately, so you can't give it -2 health. So there are 4 possible pranks, but then keep in mind something else that we have to keep in mind. They would have played a champion here if they had one. So neither of the 2 unknowns in their hand are champions, which means the prank can hit those 2 and whiff. So I am priced into using, basically, I have to win a 1 in 6 with 3 shots, and of those 3 shots, once I hit the 1 in 6, I have to win a 1 in 4.
So essentially, you have to just 1 in 24 RNG and hope.
Yep.
Wait.
Um,
I may have messed up the numbers somewhere, but
No, the 1 in 6 is 2/3 times 1/4.
that's what it is. Yep. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You have to win a 1 in 6. You have 3 chances to win a 1 in 6.
Yep, that's what it
So
was.
Yeah,
you
it was
literally have 3 chances to roll a 6 on a dice.
Yep.
I was just thinking, if you know they have a burn spell, then you can only do the prank line.
If they have a burn
To be
spell,
clear-
if I know
Like,
they have
if-
a burn spell, then what line does that open up? Does that open
Yeah.
up anything? Because then
Like that.
if we know they have a burn spell. Oh wait, no, we don't have a shell folk in play. Never mind. That doesn't open up anything
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
No.
You
I
just
think
have
we
to
could
go
have
if you
cashed
have
in
that
one of
soul
these
read.
pranks before the GE came down to look for the burn spells, specifically the get excited.
That does
That way,
then
they
close
cash
off
the get
the.
excited. If we hit it, they can't get excited and then cash in the Risen Rider.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I think is I think it's an extremely good option, because it gives us a hand read to figure out what the hell they're doing with these stun spiders.
Yeah, I think the problem is. Oh wait, did they drop double spider this turn as well?
Yes.
Double spider
Yeah,
this
they had
turn
to.
to stun the
Both
5/5
spiders and
and
the
bind.
physician and the
I know,
grenadier all this turn.
So yeah,
Then you have to drop pranks in response to second spider because you know they're going for it. That signifies either burn spell or. Sorry, I'm so late in asking questions to rewind.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, after double spider, you just have to send it. Like, you now have the read that they have something.
Yep. Because this was the board state at the beginning of this turn. This was how the turn started.
Okay.
And we got all the way to here.
Jesus.
So yeah, I think.
Oh well.
Yeah, so I think the line. I don't think it. I think every line takes you to 1.
Yes.
So I don't think it's overall, I think it's fine that this is the line you took. But that's kind of results oriented, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, the only line that prevents you from going to 1 is the line where prank hits get excited and you can stop them before everything goes wrong and you can try and get another blocker in. But Like, part of it is just not having that read kind of fucked you.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's I think that's kind of the lesson here. I don't know if other people have different takeaways, but like, that's you just have to act on the read.
Of note, this I did submit this game to a VOD review for the team call, but I have to be in the office, so I won't be able to converse with with people about it during the team call. But I can listen in at least, and I'll watch the VOD or the backup of the team call too. But yeah, I think like this game, there was a lot of interesting things that happened in this game that led up to this turn, and I think this turn merits a lot of discussion and analysis on its own.
Yeah, this is an extremely fascinating turn.
We could probably be here for a while.
I was about to say we're pushing 3 hours on this, and we have reviewed we've reviewed 5 games and the final turn of a sixth. Um, but yeah, this was very productive though. I I think this was very good. I don't think there's much else to talk about. Like my my match. So this match against this lineup. I talked about this a little bit already, but like my opponent inted by banning Shellfolk here, and I'm just like literally in the VOD. You just hear me scream like, "Holy shit! I have a chance," because I left tree up. So I have like my thinking was okay. I have to get tree into TK, and then darkness into Lee. And it turns out I was able to just 2-0 TK because I won with tree because they didn't have a Star Spring until like turn 6, and I had a tree at that point that was already at like 8, and they have no outs to resolve tree. And then I dropped a Vagar on turn 4 playing darkness and connected with like 2 or 3 catalyzers, and then just 24'd them on turn 9 by Vagar aiding them upstairs, then playing an Ishtali and 16ing them upstairs after they'd already played a Guiding Touch. So they only and they also tapped like 7 mana for nothing. But I had exactly the ability to deal 24, and they would still be at exactly 0 through all of the immediate Nexus healing in their deck. This one, this one is just obvious. Ban Poppy Ziggs. That's just the obvious plan for the lineup. I think this is the one where I play the Darkness. Yeah, we play the Darkness Mirror. Blah blah blah. Nothing interesting ever happens in the Darkness Mirror. Somebody gets clowned.
Out of just general curiosity, how long did that match take?
The Darkness Mirror.
Yeah.
About 10 minutes.
That's not that bad.
It's really not. Like, Darkness players understand that the mirror is just super coin flippy, and it also just snowballs out of control super quickly, and there really isn't like this intricate back and forth in it all that much, like there is in other control mirrors. But yeah, like a lot of like, I don't think there's too much else interesting in many of my matches, because like most of my matches had a Scion in it, so I'm just like, okay, I get to ban anything else besides that, and I am a statistical favorite to win the match. I think this one, this one actually had like an interesting ban decision where I actually end up banning Plunder here instead of banning Darkness. I think banning Darkness is like maybe correct, but I just know that this Pilfered Goods is going to tilt me off the face of the planet because it's going to draw like double mini or something, and I will just lose my mind.
I literally did that to some poor fellow earlier today. I also drew like 2 of some dude's Leviathans, like multiple.
Goodness.
Jeez.
I think if you're confident in, so they probably lead off with Draven Scion. You lead off with Shellfolk. What are you running into Draven Scion? What matchup are you looking for against Darkness? Like,
So like I actually don't mind. I think so. My opponent's Darkness list is super teched for aggressive strategies. They do have 3 hidden pathways, but this is like their only control tool. Like they have a
Yeah.
whale, double mist, vials. They have stress defense. They have a mist's call. Like they have 2 aloof, 2 robe maker. Where I'm either on 3-3 or 3-2. They don't have a ruination. They only have 1 rekindler. So I think given my strength both in the Darkness Mirror and playing Shellfolk into this, like just my general competence and confidence in both of these matchups, I feel free to leave this up and just ban the deck that will tilt me. Plus, like, this deck has the ability to just oops a control deck.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that this is a bad decision at all.
also, why are they only on 1 idol?
They cut the second one to make room for the Pilfered Goods.
They got to feel the rush too.
You know what? This list is already tilting me. I agree with your decision. Absolutely. Even if
So,
win percentages disagree, this is wild.
so the Feel the Rush is actually stock at this point in Plunder, because it doesn't negatively impact your allegiance all that often. Although, like, I just see all the time people are just leaving, just like missing on their allegiance on their Grifter, and I'm just like, well, there's a Sejuani on top of your deck, I suppose.
Sedge or Feel.
What else did they cut though? I'm trying to count through because they've got 2 Dreadway, 1 Feel the Rush, 1 Pilfered Goods. They got rid of 1 Monkey Idol, but there has to be something else, right?
Also, do they normally run Hired Gun?
Some do. It's like a swap in and out. Oh,
And
they're not
then,
running the one of 3 Sisters.
Yes. Because I was about to say, you get 2 Freljord slots that are not Sejuani. Yeah. But yeah, the Feel the Rush is basically stock at this point, just as extra insulation from aloof, and also just the ability to oops it against a control deck.
yeah, I think banning it so you don't just, like, accidentally get hit with a 12 mana spell that says I win the game is probably a fine decision.
And like this goes into like a bunch of math theory, and it's something that people like innately understand, but it's also like kind of awkward. I had just watched the versus the Magic Versus series where they did the world's decks, and at one point Brad and Ross talk about the value of singletons and how the first copy of a card in your deck is the most impactful copy. because it gives you the highest percent gains to draw that card, going from 0 to 1.
Yeah. Balancing singletons and consistency
Yep, exactly.
is the reason why I don't build my own decks.
Yeah.
Too much brain.
Yeah. I've always played the role of the tuner more so than the build from scratcher. Like I'm very much able to I'm very much better at being able to identify flaws in a deck, or identify potential holes and cover them and massage numbers to fix problems. But building a deck from scratch, nope. The only other thing that was like interesting, I think it was this match, although I could be mistaken. Yeah, it's this match. I think I go on like a 2-minute tirade about this opponent's Scion list. Nope, it's not this one. I know it's one of these, but I don't know which.
You're just going through every single game because everyone brought Scion.
Exactly. No. So they have a whirling death in there, like an actual factual whirling death, not the champion
Yeah.
role. They have 2 survival skills, so they just like are very, very interested in just playing the aggressive, like, poison style game where they just protect a threat. They also
Yeah.
only have 2 lost souls. And
Hmm.
I just go on this like tirade, basically just saying, yo, you can't win the game without this card, without all 3 copies of this card. I don't care if you're free to play. Bust out your credit card, get the 3rd lost soul.
I know that some lists were going. This is a modified version of Jason Sensationals, by the way. I know that some lists were thinking of 2 Lost Soul. I heavily disagree with
No,
that.
there
Um,
there is no justification. You literally could not pay me enough money to only register 2 lost souls.
but also, like, the main deck, Whirling Death, is kind of cute. Just because it allows you to constantly hold up Whirling Death.
Yep.
And it's a burn spell that you don't have to throw face. Or not burn, but it's a combat trick that you don't have to worry about throwing face. I think they cut, like, Lost Soul for a baboon? Which just feels
3
wrong.
baboon is stock, I think. Like,
No, it's 2.
I've always seen it at 3, but maybe I'm off.
Really?
This list
Then
this list also has 3 poro cannons.
I don't think Jason Sensationals ran Flock. I think it just ran Sentry for Scion.
Yeah.
So it's either like they cut it for a Flock or a Poro Cannon, and either of those is just not worth it.
Right. But yeah, like playing in this event, I saw some fucking wild Scion lists.
Yeah, I'm
Trying to break the meta,
trying
man.
to. Yeah, I guess break the meta by playing bad cards. Here we go. I'm gonna play Echo Zillion to Masters.
But yeah, we are now pushing 3 hours.
I assume you're probably going to bed.
I'm going to bed soon. I have to work in 9 hours. I also, or 10 hours, 10 hours. And I gotta start this uploading. So,
Goodness.
Good luck.
I think we're just gonna call it here. But this was a really good review.
Okay. I'm excited for the Thursday. I want to see how Jason and Majin would play that turn.
Like I definitely think that that turn is like I honestly expect like 10 minutes on that turn alone.
And I think we kind of got there on this session.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, that turn's hard. How do you... It pretty much, like, in my mind, it just... You have to go for the read.
But yeah, I'm gonna cut this so that way we don't accidentally Minnesota goodbye, and I will drop this in the Discord. Well, I'll drop a link to the YouTube video in the Discord when we're done, when it's done uploading.
Okay.
So, good night, y'all.
Good night.
Night.
Be well.